Good Thursday afternoon. Thanks for joining us on Kare 11 News Now. I'm Chris Harapsky. We start from Capitol Hill today, where Minnesota state officials are pointing the finger about the chaos that unfolded during the influx of immigration agents for Operation Metro Surge.
Minnesota's experience shows us that unchecked enforcement can lead to tragedy and a profound loss of trust. I am here because I believe oversight is urgently needed. Minnesota seeks a return to law enforcement agencies respecting each other's roles, where enforcement is proportional and constitutional.
And the Minneapolis Police Department has refused to assist even in crowd control during these types of chaotic situations. That's what resulted in the 2 tragic deaths that we heard about earlier today. And we will never know, sadly, how those 2 situations had turned out if Minneapolis police had been permitted by their political leaders, like Governor Walz, Attorney General Ellison, and Mayor Frey, to simply keep the peace.
Minneapolis police say they respond to ICE and immigration situations if there is a threat of violence to keep the public safe or to control the crowd. Meantime, border czar Tom Homan says immigration enforcement operations on the ground have been successful and that Operation Metro Surge could conclude.
Success that has been made arresting public safety threats and other priorities since this surge operation began, as well as the unprecedented levels of coordination we have obtained from state officials and local law enforcement. I have proposed, and President Trump has concurred, that this surge operation conclude. A significant drawdown has already been underway this week and will continue to the next week. We have a lot of work to do across this country to remove public safety risk who shouldn't even be in this country, and to deliver on President Trump's promise for strong border security and mass deportation. Law enforcement officers drawing down from this surge operation will either return to the duty station or be assigned elsewhere to achieve just that.
Homan says a small footprint of agents will remain to help wind down that mission. The drawdown of agents is happening this week and next. Governor Walz says he's proud of Minnesota for standing up against what he called a, quote, federal invasion. He said, while announcing he will propose a $10 million emergency fund to help Minnesota businesses hurt by the surge, Walz says the damage they are leaving behind is extraordinary and they need to be held responsible for it.
This legislative session needs to be about recovery of the damage that's been done to us. I am also asking our team, and I'm going to make appeals to our federal delegation, the federal government needs to pay for what they broke here. There are going to be accountability on the things that happened, but one of the things is the incredible and immense costs that were borne by the people of this state. The federal government needs to be responsible. You don't get to break things and then just leave without doing something about it. So we're going to be asking the federal delegation to be investing and doing the things necessary.
Mayor Frey also reacting to the drawdown, saying that it was not just about resisting the moves from the feds, but standing with neighbors in Minneapolis. He says the operation has been catastrophic, but now it's time for a great comeback. Exclusive new poll numbers from Kare 11, NBC News, and the Minnesota Star Tribune show most Minnesotans disagree with President Trump's border policies. 31% say they strongly approve, 10% somewhat approve, 6% somewhat disapprove, 53% strongly disapprove. Meanwhile, public opinion on local leaders is split. Respondents were about 50-50 on Governor Tim Walz, who is not running for re-election. U.S. Senator Amy Klobuchar, who is running for governor in his place on the Democratic side of the ticket, has a better approval rating around 54%. Meanwhile, Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey's approval is slightly over 50%, with 25% strongly approving and 26% somewhat approving. Interesting poll numbers there. Moving on, a mother from the Red Lake Reservation accused of killing her 2 sons is now on trial. Jennifer Stately is charged with murder. According to charging documents, she stabbed her sons, 5-year-old Tristan and 6-year-old Remy. Prosecutors say she then set the house on fire. Stately was arrested after fleeing with her 3-year-old son, prompting an Amber Alert. Stately's attorney is using an insanity defense. New details today on a man accused of stabbing his wife to death in St. Cloud over the weekend. 23-year-old Dylan Tobler is now in jail, charged with murder. for allegedly killing his wife, 22-year-old Hallie Tobler. These charges come less than 2 weeks after Dillon pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor for choking Hallie. That choking incident took place over the summer when Hallie was also told police that her husband was making suicidal threats, having delusions, and has a history of aggressive behavior. Charles Hempick leads Anna Marie's Alliance in St. Cloud. It's an organization that's been around for nearly 50 years with a stated vision of a world free of a relationship abuse.
If you suspect someone you know may be in a relationship that's not healthy or abusive, I would say be willing to talk to them about it. Even if you're mistaken and they're not, it's better to be wrong in that way than wish later on you would have said something earlier if something happens.
Violence Free Minnesota oversees more than 90 programs across the state working to end relationship abuse. They say at least 31 Minnesotans were killed last year because of intimate partner violence, though that number could be higher because of inequities in reporting. The victim in this case is the daughter of a former St. Cloud City Council member who was running for Minnesota governor, but has since suspended his campaign. New data from MNsure shows an overwhelming number of Minnesotans are switching their health insurance plans this year after open enrollment ended last month. This is because of skyrocketing costs. Many are opting for plans with less coverage or none at all. Kent Erdahl joins us now with more.
All the way back in September, the CEO of MNsure helped raise concerns at the Capitol, announcing that if enhanced affordable tax credits were allowed to expire, 89,000 Minnesotans will pay more for coverage.
And over 19,000 will lose access to all financial help in 2026.
Several months and one big government shutdown later, those tax credits did expire. And according to MNsure, there are now clear signs of affordability issues, including an 87% increase in enrollees who switched plans.
They opted for a cheaper option than what they would have had they stayed in their plan from last year.
Does that mean then in turn that many more Minnesotans might be underinsured?
Yeah, it's certainly possible. So maybe your premiums are a little bit lower, but when you go to use that health insurance coverage, you might have larger out-of-pocket costs. And we know some folks really had to make that difficult decision.
MNsure CEO Libby Collins says others apparently decided they couldn't afford any options. More than 12,000 fewer Minnesotans enrolled this year, an 8% drop, despite record traffic and call volume.
That tells us that people were concerned. They were looking for ways to stay covered. They wanted to stay covered, but some of them ended up making that really tough choice and going without.
And she says it's a choice we will all pay for.
When people don't have health insurance, that doesn't mean they're not going to get sick. That doesn't mean they're not going to get injured, and they're still going to seek care. And so when that happens, they may use emergency services more. That puts burden on health systems, hospital systems. We all end up paying for this in the long run when people don't have health insurance.
Libby says MNsure is only beginning to understand the impact of these rising rates. She says enrollment could fall even more as people struggle to pay the increased premiums, especially for those who lost all the tax credits, some of whom are dealing with increases of more than 50%. It is day 12 of the search for Nancy Guthrie. Right now, FBI agents are tediously searching the area around her home in Arizona looking for any clues. The New York Post reporting that FBI agents appeared to pick up a black glove on the side of the road during their search. Right now, it's not clear if that glove is the same as the one that was seen on the security camera footage of a person shortly before Guthrie vanished. New privacy questions over home security camera video access after Arizona authorities first said there was none available in the Guthrie case. CNN sources say that came after engineers at Google were able to recover data after several days. County Sheriff had previously said that no video was available because Guthrie did not have a subscription to her Google Nest camera. Google says all video is deleted on a rolling basis, kept for different lengths depending on the subscription someone has. Cybersecurity expert Bryce Austin emphasized that this is a major breakthrough and being used for good, but says it does raise questions about data that is kept.
This is an example of the double-edged sword that is data privacy in 2026. A good thing is happening here to help bring a victim home and to help put a bad person behind bars. And the thought that those videos are going to exist somewhere, somehow, in perpetuity is a more and more reasonable assumption for all of us to make.
Austin adds that the fact that authorities had an address to look for also likely made it easier to find that video. New today, Jessie Diggins sliding into a bronze medal in the women's cross-country skiing 10K. Diggins battling through the pain of a bruised rib she suffered earlier this week. The bronze is Diggins' 4th Olympic medal and says this will be her final Olympic Games. She plans to retire after the cross-country skiing season finale in New York next month. Stick with us. We got more news and weather coming up after the break.